trade of the day. Rudy Gobert to the Minnesota Timberwolves. So the full trade details. Minnesota Timberwolves receive Jazz, Rudy Gobert. The Jazz receive Patrick Beverley, Malik Beasley, Walker Kessler, Jared Vanderbilt, Leandro Balmero. 4 first-round picks. All unprotected except one.
That's just at first glance you're
Rudy
like
Gobert.
At first glance you're like, wow, that's a lot. You'd be right. For Rudy Gobert, if you told me that trade package, I would say, wow, the Timberwolves just traded for Kevin Durant. That's what my first instinct would be if you just showed me that package without knowing who it was for. But for Rudy Gobert, let me just go on a quick tangent here. Rudy Gobert, a guy you can't trust in the playoffs, a guy that has consistently been – you've had to sub him off the court. Luka and the Mavs ate him alive. And now you want to pair him with Towns, who's
not even Luka in the Mavs. Not even Luka in the Mavs. Jalen Brunson in the Mavs.
Yeah, exactly.
He gave Jalen Brunson $25 million a year.
Yeah, that's very true. And the thing is, you're trying to pair him with Cat, who's been a center his whole career, arguably could play the 4. He can shoot the rock. But the thing is, defensively, in the playoffs especially, yeah, Gobert's however many times defensive player of the year. In the playoffs, those two cannot be on the court together. Cannot.
No.
It'll get exposed too. And apparently all the, like you just said earlier, the Timberwolves are elated, internally. There's a lot of celebration. For what? For what? You traded for a guy that plays the same position as the guy you just gave a 4-year supermax to.
Yeah.
How is that? I don't understand how that's making so much better. If you're giving that package, I just can't believe it wasn't for somebody bigger, or at least somebody at a position of need. Maybe they've been wanting to move Karl Anthony Towns to the 4 for a while now. I'm not sure. But you would at least expect probably the biggest package they've given up in a long time to be for a position you actually need. I don't know.
I know defensively they would have been horrible, but doesn't that same trade package plus maybe like one other, like maybe you throw D'Angelo Russell in there, doesn't that same trade package get you Donovan Mitchell?
I think so. Donovan Mitchell or a Bradley Beal.
I guess they're looking for defense because that's the only explanation for this. But
they traded away Pat Bev, their arguably best wing defender. But it's Pat Bev. He's getting older by the day. That's not the biggest loss in the world.
No, but is this team that much better? Are they above a 5? Are they a 4 seed?
No, God, no. No. Well, Gobert's good during the regular season. I still don't think they're a top 4 seed. It depends on how much Anthony Edwards makes that jump. How much Karl Anthony Towns, we mentioned it a couple shows ago, the all weak-minded team or whatever you call it. Yeah, it just depends on how much they can get it together and mesh together during the regular season. They're not guaranteed a spot in the West playoffs. If they're in the play-in tournament as a 7 or an 8, I'm not going to be surprised.
I think they're 6. I don't think they're that bad. They were 7th this year.
I bet I can name 6 Western Conference teams that'll be above them. Golden State, Clippers, Denver, Mavericks.
That one's neck and neck.
Suns.
Depending.
Yes, Suns. Yes,
okay.
Suns. Either way.
Okay.
And I don't want to say it, but the Lakers could jump them. That's the range that I see the Timberwolves in. Lakers, Mavs probably right above them. Obviously not the Jazz anymore. But I don't know. If they're in the play-in tournament, that's not going to be shocking to me.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked by anything. If they finished 3rd, I wouldn't be shocked. If they finished 10th, I wouldn't be shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what do you keep D'Angelo Russell? I don't understand his play too.
I don't know. I think you kind of have to. That's your point guard. You traded away Malik Beasley. Not that he's a starting caliber point guard, but that was your backup. You traded Pat Bev, who was also another guard. D'Angelo Russell's it. Unless they have another package put together or another free agent signing on the way, that's your point guard.
And also, this is another thing too. It's kind of like the Jazz problem is where all other 4 players on the court for the Timberwolves are going to be awful defenders, just getting cooked, and Rudy Gobert is going to be cleanup. We saw what happened to the Jazz every playoffs.
Yeah, 100%. D'Angelo Russell, Mike Conley, about the same defensively. Royce O'Neal was a pretty good defender. Honestly, Utah might have been better defensively around Gobert than Minnesota will be.
Arguably. Depending on who you're playing, because you have to, like, if someone goes small, who's guard? Cat and Gobert cannot be on the court if a team's going small. Imagine them playing against Golden State.
No.
And say Kevon Looney's in. They're not even doing their death lineup. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so they're going to guard Draymond out there. Like, obviously,
you can't hide.
Shoot.
You can't hide both of them on the perimeter. You cannot hide both Gobert and Towns on the perimeter. That's going to cause huge problems, especially in the playoffs. It might work for a little bit during the regular season.
And that's what I was going to say, because I think the regular season is going to work. I think they're going to be fine, and everyone's going to be like, oh, they're going to become the new Jazz. Remember those DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry Raptors teams, those Hawks teams? They're going to become that same team where it's like, oh, this is awesome. Like, they're a sleeper. Like, are they a real contender in the West?
Is this the year?
Next on Get Up.
Yeah,
like,
is this the year? And no, it's not. They're not getting past the second round.
Because that's the thing. Like, because a lot of teams don't take the regular season as seriously. That's why I'm saying, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they're a 2 seed. Like, that kind of Rudy Gobert thing. Really, like, would you be that surprised? Would you be that surprised?
I'm not that big of a believer in Anthony Edwards or Towns.
The Grizzlies were a 2 seed this year.
That's who I saw I was missing above them.
Yeah,
they're going to be above
them. Missing the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
We were missing the Grizzlies, but the Grizzlies were a 2 seed this year. Like, that's how I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying it matters whether they're a 2 seed, but I do say, like, they could easily be a 2 seed.
Yeah,
doesn't mean I still think they get bounced in the first round.
Now, I know nobody predicted the Grizzlies to be that high of a seed last year, but looking at that team compared to this Timberwolves team as it stands right now, the supporting cast around Ja in Memphis was so much better.
Also, dudes like Desmond Bane and Dylan Brooks, even Tyus Jones coming off the bench when Ja Morant was out, played out of their minds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Memphis got the most out of their players, 100%.
But yeah, and if you're like, let's talk about from the Jazz side now, because if you're a Jazz fan, you knew the inevitable blow up was going to happen. I think this is the best case scenario you could have asked for right now, because one, if you're having to pick between the 2 stars, Donovan or Rudy, you're definitely taking Donovan Mitchell. And then also you get this insane haul for Gobert. The best you were looking at before was a first-round pick, Vucevic and Kobe White. Even though I still think that's a bad trade for the Bulls if they would have done that.
Yeah, I agree with your point on that. But here's the thing about the Jazz is that they just came out and said they want to retool their roster around Donovan Mitchell. I don't think there's time for that. This time frame, like, I don't know what retooling means. Unless they're going to flip those first-round picks in the next couple of years, Donovan Mitchell's in the prime of his career right now. It's the same thing as DeJounte Murray and
he's forcing his way out. He's forcing his way out.
He can't wait on the Jazz to retool, because then it'll be too late. And that little window he has to compete in the West will be closed.
And that's the other thing, is like, nobody's going to give up the same amount that they got for Gobert, for Donovan Mitchell, because the teams that Donovan Mitchell wants to go to just don't have the same resources that Minnesota was willing to give up.
But for what they got for Gobert, though, that might screw the rest of the league for setting that precedent. That is an insane amount of draft picks, young talent, all for Rudy Gobert, who's been an all-star a couple times Defensive Player of the Year, but he's not a top 25 player in the league. No. He's not at all. And that package, you could have told me they traded for Kevin Durant with that package plus like one more player, and I'd have been like,
if they would have thrown like D'Angelo Russell back to Brooklyn.
Yeah, I'd have been like, oh, wow. So the Nets got a bunch of first-round picks for KD. Like, they're probably just going to blow it up, start a rebuild. You know, like
after seeing this trade, it makes the Rockets haul for Harden so much worse.
Yeah, 100%. People are just throwing away first-round picks like they're nothing. They're just dishing out like growing trees, which
it is so risky.
It's like I'm playing my GM on NBA 2K. I'm like, oh, screw this. I'm not going to be playing in the 2025 season anyways. Let me just throw all these picks at the trade finder and see what I get.
I mean, because if you're a GM, you have to save your job.
Yeah. The Jazz, there's no way Donovan Mitchell plays more than, even if he starts this year on the Jazz, which I'm not convinced of, it's going to be 1 year. It has to be.
I know, because that's what you mentioned it before, that Tony Jones, who will be coming on the podcast in a couple weeks, of The Athletic, Tony Jones, go follow him on Twitter. He said they're going to retool around Donovan, and they said they're not done trading, but it's like, what
do they have?
What are they going to? They have all this right now, but who are they going to get?
If they were going to flip that for somebody else, you'd think it would just be a 3-team trade. Like, I've never seen a team acquire this much of an asset haul and then immediately flip it again. It's not going to happen.
No.
So I don't know what.
It's very confusing. But the thing is, if you're a Jazz fan, I think you'd rather have Danny Ainge running things than anybody else.
Yeah, I agree. And this will probably pay off. First year head coach, it'll be some growing pains for sure. And I don't think Donovan Mitchell stays there long term unless they pull off a miracle. But if they get any type of the haul they just got for Gobert, they'll be set up for the future.
Yeah, they'll be in the same shoes as the Thunder.
The Thunder are looking, they're going to be pretty good in a few years.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't understand it from, both sides are kind of weird right now because the Timberwolves, that's so much for Rudy Gobert. I just keep looking at the trade package right here.
Yep.
That is so much.
Yep, I agree. It's one of those things we're going to look back on, and when those first-round picks turn into something, they're going to be like, wow, the Timberwolves gave up this player and Walker Kessler and whoever else, all for Rudy Gobert to get bounced in the second round twice. We're going to look back on this in 5 years and be like, what the hell?
We could I really do think the only way we get proven wrong is if Anthony Edwards takes that step into an all NBA player.
Yeah, I agree. And if Towns continues to average 25 and 12, if that still happens with Gobert, the rim protector, then maybe.